All right, thank you everyone for joining our Piece of Cake Payroll Solutions Community live Q&A today on January 15th, 2020. I will be discussing who gets a 1099 and what are the reasons why somebody who would get a 1099 doesn't need one. As it can all be really confusing. So what I did earlier this year was I drew up this really fantastic chart. And don't worry, you are not supposed to be able to read it on what I just showed you because it's all in shorthand that only I can really read. All right, so I am going to share my screen and show you what a 1099 looks like. And I just realized things moved. All right. So here's what a 1099 looks like. In box 1, you put in rents. So if you rent office space, you put what you paid your office space landlord in there. Royalties get paid anytime you pay over $10 of royalties to somebody. And the IRS has a specific definition of royalties, and I'll go into the instructions a little bit later. 3 is for other income, and 4 is if you, I love this because I always tell people if you're doing things right, you don't use box 4 ever. So if, say you're working with a contractor and they don't want to provide you a W-9, then you can withhold backup withholding, which I have to look because they change it every year, and it's somewhere between 24 and 30% that you can. So if they send you an invoice for $100, you withhold $28 so that you of backup withholding. And then once they send you a 1099, then you can, oh, sorry, Allison is sending me, she thinks she saw the percent in another group and it was 28%. And 28% is the number that I do have in my head, but I just saw in one of the other groups that I'm in, somebody had posted 24%. And then another group, somebody else had posted 30%. But I know in 2017, when the last time I withheld a percentage from a contractor, it was 28%. And I think the instructions should tell us. We should be able to find that out. But on box 5 is fishing boat proceeds. So if you make money on a fishing boat, it goes there. Medical and healthcare payments go in box 6. Non-employee compensation is the big one. That goes in box 7 for 2019. They are removing box 7 from the 1099 miscellaneous form for tax year 2020, and we'll do another Q&A on that specific topic, but just know that it's changing for 2020. All right, and then we've got substitute payments in lieu of dividends or interest go in box 8. Box 9 is for payer made direct sales of $5,000 or more of consumer products to a buyer for resale. And this one, it's just you check it off and don't fill anything out. Box 10 is crop insurance proceeds, and that, is, unless we're doing books for a crop insurance company, I don't see us using that one very much. Excessive golden parachute payments, this is when CEOs or high-level executives get get paid a big lump sum severance package that is in excess of golden parachute payments. I've never had to do that one myself, but I actually don't know anybody who has. Box 14 is gross proceeds paid to an attorney. So we'll go more into why attorneys have their own box on a 1099. And the rest of it is pretty self-explanatory. You put in the payer's name, street, address, city, town, state, zip, and the payer's tax ID number and the recipient's tax ID number. So going back into the scenario where if you put in backup withholdings into box 4, because the recipient does not provide you with a W-9 and you don't know what their tax ID number is, you can fill out the 1099 and put refused in here under this box, but you cannot e-file a 1099 without the tax ID number filled in. And then the recipient's name, street, their address, and if they have an account number, which usually that is left blank. And this box is if you've received the IRS will send you tax ID number mismatch letters if the tax ID doesn't match the recipient's name, or if you continue to work with a vendor who will not fill out a W-9. And if you mark this box, be prepared to get penalties and other nasty letters from the IRS. So just in general, the best thing to do is to get a W-9 filled out before you pay a subcontractor, a vendor, or anybody performing a service or an attorney. And the reason, let's put a pin in that thought because I don't know where that one was going. All right, so then we've got the instructions for the 1099. And if you haven't, it's a good idea to read these. It's only 11 pages and some of them get really confusing. But if the way I found the 1099 instructions was I just Googled, and you have to put 2019 in front of it, just 1099 instructions. And the PDFs pop up. So that's where we're at. And one of the things that is really cool, and I'm using Firefox, and I don't know how it works in other browsers, but say you are looking for something very specific, you hit Control F, and this thing will pop up. And see, earlier today, I was looking up backup withholding, so it's already pre-populated. But if you're looking for something, you put that in and you hit the down arrow and it will keep taking you around the document for every time that is used. And then you know which sections that you need to spend a little bit of time reading. So let's see. And then they've got some nice examples. I know a lot of people think a lot of the instructions for tax forms are kind of hard to read, but the examples on the 1099 instructions are pretty good, I think. So I don't know what section we're in, but let's see. I'm just going to go back up to the top of the document and move that toolbar out of the way. All right. So it tells everything you need to know about a 1099 is in here. But broad strokes, anybody that you pay at least $600 to in rent, services, prizes and awards, other income, medical and healthcare payments, crop insurance, proceeds, cash payments for fish or other aquatic life that you purchase from somebody engaged in the business of catching fish. And then these payments to an attorney. The only thing that's the exception to the rule is $10 in royalties for box 2. Let's see. So I'm going to switch back to this, and then I'm going to go based on, look at my notes here. So if you've paid over $600, you need to issue a 1099 to everybody who is a LLC, a sole proprietor, a partnership. The only exceptions are if they've elected to be taxed as an S corp, or if they are an S corp or a C corp. And I am just going to pull up a W-9 because people don't always fill these out correctly. And I think it's important to discuss how to fill these out. So line 1 is the name of the person on the tax return. So we can use my company, for example. So because I'm an LLC, my name, Shannon Tice, goes in box 1. Box 2 is Payroll Solutions Plus, because that is the name that that's my company's name. And then I would check this box. I'm gonna download this so that we can fill it out, because it'll make sense, I think, while we're filling it out. But all right, so I'm just gonna put my name here. And you have to put the LLC after it because it needs to match what the IRS has you listed as. So anytime you're unsure, you can refer back to your SS4 to figure out what your business name is with the IRS or any other document. So I will mark this, but for now, but pretty soon I will be electing to be taxed as a S corp. So then I would fill it out here. I would just put the S in. And then you put in your address. We'll put in any city, any state. I'm in Minnesota. Throw in a zip code. And then the requester's name and address can be left blank. And I have a tax ID number. So I will put in my tax ID number. I'm just throwing in 9s. And if you ever get one where they filled in their social security number and their employer identification number, you need to send it back because they can really only have one of these two filled out. All right. But I mean, so that's basically how you fill out a W-9. You have to know, are you a individual, sole proprietor, or single member LLC? You're a corporation. So you choose either a C corp or an S corp, or you're a partnership, or you're a trust and estate. And if you're an LLC but have elected to be taxed as a corporation or a partnership, well, if it was a multi-member partnership, you would fill this section out. But if you're a a corporation or elect to be taxed as a corporation, then you do not get a then you do not send a 1099. The other exclusions for 1099s are anybody who is paid with a credit card, a debit card, PayPal, business account, basically any merchant service provider that, like Square or Stripe or any of those. However, if they were paid with PayPal, friends or family, Veem, check, or cash, then they need a 1099. And the reason that we exclude anybody who is paid with any form of a merchant service account, like credit card, PayPal, debit card, is because there is a 1099K and merchants send out a 1099K. And there are instructions on filling out a 1099K, but their thresholds are a lot higher. So if somebody has a 1099K, or the people who send out a 1099K, their threshold is $25,000. However, most of the time they will send it out no matter what the dollar amount is. I don't, as a general rule, accept very much by credit card. And last year, I think I accepted about $4,000 with a credit card, and I received a 1099K. So it's really important, if not, to send a 1099 miscellaneous to somebody who doesn't need one, but it's just as important to send a 1099 to somebody who does need one. Oh, sorry, Allison, I just saw your question. I am going to share my screen again. She was asking if you are an LLC taxed as an S Corp, you pick S Corp here, right? No, you pick that you pick this box that you're a limited liability company and put S here. And you don't fill out this section. If people fill out the electronic version, I think it's pretty good. It won't let you pick more than one box here. So, but where I run into trouble is when I print out the form and send it to people, and they fill it out. They'll just check all the boxes, and then you have to say, no, this isn't right. You can't pick LLC, S Corp, and here. You can only pick one. But there, along with the W-9, there is, the instructions are on here. And I see it's got the backup withholding. And here it is. The backup withholding for 2019 is 24%. So we have that part answered. But it explains how to fill out each section, and it describes. All right, so you're sole proprietor, you put your name as it appears on your 1040. So, and a lot of times people will, I don't have a nickname, I don't even know what my nickname would be, but you know, let's just say it's Bubba. Now that might be what I would go by on the street or in person, but for tax purposes, it has to be your name as it appears on your legal documents. So I always tell people box 1 is what's on your driver's license or your tax return. So I think I've rambled enough about how to do this correctly. I don't know, does anybody here on the Zoom have any questions? And are there any questions that showed up on, I don't see any on Facebook. So we'll just end this here. So if anybody watching this on the replay has questions, definitely ask them. And I will be monitoring this recording for the next couple of days. So hopefully that made 1099s less confusing and not more. But all year long, in all of the different groups that I'm in, people have 1099 questions. And it really, almost every answer that you're gonna need is on the instructions. And it just is a matter of taking the time out, especially if you're gonna prepare 1099s or help advise your clients on them. Just take half an hour and read the instructions. Print a copy to keep it as reference. I mean, I have a drawer full of 1099 papers and, or, you know, the 1099 forms and instructions, just so that I have them on hand for when people come years later after they've gotten some IRS notices and they've need 1099s printed retroactively. It's, I think it's a little silly, but especially they're informational returns. So, but you still get fined for filling them out incorrectly and not sending them out at all. And plus there's a box on your tax return that says, did you have 1099 eligible vendors that you paid, and you say yes or no. And then if you did you send out 1099s? If you mark no, then it opens you up for penalties or different things. I'm not a tax expert. I just know that they have those boxes on the forms. But you know, the best thing to do is just to be in compliance. And if you have questions on 1099s, just post it or ask somebody that you know might have the answer. Especially if you've already read the instructions, you're like, I'm not really sure if I'm on the right track or not. So thank you all for joining us. Until next time.